had worked through the whole weekend, not feeling poorly at all. I went home Sunday night after having worked there for my regular shift. I had even gone down to the emergency room while I was working to have the nurses and check me out, just because I felt like I was maybe running a fever. I wasn't feeling real good at the time. So they checked my temperature, said everything was fine, sent me back to work. Actually went home that morning, still not feeling real great, went to bed. I got up that afternoon to go to the bathroom like I always did when I first get up in the morning, and realized that there was something terribly wrong. I felt horrible, urinating blood, pretty much just pure blood at the time. And so up until that point, I didn't have any symptoms at all. But at that point, that afternoon, I realized that I probably had a very severe infection.
Sepsis is an infection to the body. Can be a urinary tract infection, can be pneumonia, can be cellulitis, a skin infection, that the body all of a sudden gets to the point where it can't fight off that infection.
Well, I actually found him sprawled across the bed, and I realized he was very sick, and I took him to the emergency room. Drove faster than I'd ever driven in my life, and faster than I ever care to drive again. And as I registered, they took him straight into the trauma room. And I quickly realized he was much sicker than I thought, because they were working on him quite rapidly. So his blood pressure quickly shot down. The diagnosis of urosepsis was made very quickly. I thought that was something to see in elderly people, not in a healthy 37-year-old man. When the doctors came in and said his kidneys are shutting down, and then they sat down with me and said, "Do you know what this means? His kidneys aren't working." And that was very frightening. And they said, if he doesn't turn the corner soon, do you know what this will mean for him?
In the United States, about every 20 seconds, somebody's diagnosed with sepsis, and about every 2 minutes, somebody dies from sepsis.
I think by the 5th day, I was feeling considerably better.
It seemed like his strength was back, and he's had no repercussions of it. He's not diabetic. He was not obviously an elderly person. He never had any open wounds, never had any of the signs of what you would think, but obviously he contracted it and went from healthy to very sick to near death.
So anybody can develop sepsis. Any age group, male, female, people who have underlying medical conditions are more susceptible to getting severe sepsis and not being able to fight off a simple infection, but pretty much anybody can get it.
We have a tendency, especially us as healthcare workers, to think that we can treat it ourselves. We don't need a doctor's help. We can get over it. Well, sometimes in these cases where it's something that serious, you need to seek immediate attention and don't put it off, and get professional help.
I came back up and walked into my husband's room, and he was in violent convulsions. His skin color had changed. I walked over to him to talk to him. He looked at me and said, "Do something quick, darling, I'm falling fast." I looked up at the nurse and I said, "We need to do something." She said, "Oh, he's just having trouble blowing off the CO2. I said, "No, this is sepsis. We need to do something now." Thank goodness she listened to me. She heeded my request. She called a rapid response.
It starts with a cascade of reactions, and then you have certain parameters like heart rate, respiratory rate, fever, temperature, all those things can alert you that patient has showing signs of sepsis.
Within a matter of minutes, John was not breathing very well. They were trying to hold him down. He's a big man. It took 7 or 8 nurses to hold him down. They tried the mask, it didn't work. Called in a physician on a telemonitor, and she set her eyes on the patient and she recommended immediate intubation. They came to me, intubated him, and whisked him out of there. Working here at the hospital, I recognized the stats. I saw the 70/30. I saw it dropping 50/20. I saw it going down. And this was with intubation. And I became seriously frightened at that point. But it wasn't until the hospitalist walked in the room and made that life-changing statement to me that the prognosis is not good and we are not sure he's going to survive. I was downstairs. I had gone downstairs to eat because the nurses wanted me out of the room when they were going to pull the tube. So I left and I went downstairs, got something to eat. I got a phone call saying, your husband wants to talk to you, get up here now. And I can't describe to you the joy that I felt when I heard that. I physically ran from the patio all the way upstairs, and I know people were looking at me thinking, she's a wacko. But I wanted to hear his voice. I wanted him to talk to me, and he did.
So the best way to prevent sepsis is early identification. If we can identify it early, start antibiotics early, we prevent the rest of the body from starting to have failure, and we can fight it off quicker so that there's not that high mortality.